Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be taking an extended look at the Suqqu fall collection. So I have a part one video with the items that I received in PR. They had sent me the two limited edition eyeshadows as well as the permanent blush shade in number 7. So I will leave that linked down below. Definitely check that out if you missed it. But we're also going to revisit those shades a little bit, and we're going through my mega order. I placed a mega order with a whole bunch of the new eyeshadows. I purchased 11 more of the shadows, the new lip gloss, the new Moisture Glaze lipstick in shade 13, which is a new permanent shade, as well as the other blush, which is also permanent. So we're starting off with swatches. So I'm going to swatch all 13 of the shadows that I have, and we're going to start off with finishes. And this first shade here, this is shade M01. So this is our matte finish, and I love this shade. This has become like my go-to base shade. So, I mean, you can see it's this nice kind of it's like a dusty rose taupe. So I really love this shade. I think it works really well for fair skin tones. It's a great base shade. It's just a really nice shadow. This one here is M02. So I only purchased 2 of the matte shades, and these are the 2. This is going to be a light tannish brown. This one leans a little bit warm. So it's a little bit deeper than M01 in terms of depth of color. And this is a great neutral shade. It would also be a great base shade for light to medium skin tones, especially if you have warmer undertones than I do. So next, I have a few of the new Prism Touch shadows. So this one here is shade P02, and you can see it doesn't really come across as well in the video, but there is a little bit of a color shift here. When I hold it like this, to me it looks like a cooler tone taupe, and like this, it's more of a rusty rose. And I have to say, there's not as much of a color shift on the skin as you might expect, and it's really more of this like warmer rusty rose kind of shade here. There is a little bit of shimmer with the Prism Touch shades, so they're more of a satin with a tiny bit of sparkle. P03, this is one of my favorites. I mean, this is a beautiful soft lilac, and we've got, you know, it's going to be cooler in tone. We have a touch of like petal pink in here. This is like a Miss Kim lilac kind of shade. I'm actually super happy that that is a permanent shade, because the 2 limited edition shades are like a purple and a green, which I absolutely love. But I think that these in the Prism finish are actually better. So this one's P04, and this is going to be a soft, I mean, look at this green. It is beautiful. Kind of, you know, you've got a little bit of blue in here. You can see when the light hits it a certain way, you get a little bit of blue, but it's almost like that minty green with a touch of sky blue in it. And again, we do have a little bit of shimmer. It's such a beautiful shade. So these 2 Prism shades are 2 of my favorite that I purchased. And again, that's P03 and P04. The luster finish is going to be more of your sparkling shades. So this is L01. And a lot of these can be used more as like a sparkly topper. You can, you know, make these a bit more opaque, but these are going to have the most shimmer and sparkle out of any of the shades. This one here is L02, and I actually have this on my eyes just as a sparkly topper right now. So you can see how L01 is, there's a little bit more opacity to it than L02. And it really just kind of depends on the shade, but all of the shades I've tried in the luster line can be used more as a shimmering topper. And these are going to, since they're more straight up sparkle, these have a little bit more of a grittier texture. They're not as silky smooth. This is another one of my favorites. This is L03, and this is basically a taupe shimmer. This one, you can build up a lot of opacity with this. So it's a neutral taupe, not necessarily super cool. It's actually got a little bit of warmth to it. And this is the most opaque of the luster shades I picked up. L01 would be the second most opaque. This one here is L05. And again, all of these can either be tapped on for more of just a soft sheer sparkle, or you can build them up to get more of the level that you see in the swatches. This is going to be more of a warm bubblegum pink. Definitely has more of those warmer undertones to it. One of the limited edition shades here is in the luster finish. This is L101. So with Suqqu, any number that starts with a 100 is limited edition. Anything below 100 is something that will be a part of the permanent line. You can see this is a really pretty kind of lilac shade here. You can see the difference. Let me just put these side by side between the Prism Touch, which is here. This is P03 versus L101. You can see we've got a bit more of it's a more sheer finish. It's more sparkly. And in terms of color, this one, L101, is slightly more lavender, but they both have a touch of pink in them. And then we have the satin finish. So this is S02, which is on my eyes today. I actually have this one on my eyes. I have the M01 as a base with the S02 over the outer half, with this one here, which is the P02 on the inner half, followed by the topper shade here in L02. So this is just a really beautiful, kind of like a cooler neutral brown. It's not quite a taupe. There's not enough gray in there, but it's that, you know, it's kind of like right in between taupe and fawn brown. I already know that S02 is going to be one of my most used. It is a gorgeous neutral. And then we have S04, which is a soft pink. And you can see that the satin finish for these, they're very finely milled. We have very finely milled shimmer, no actual glitter pieces that you can see. In terms of the pink, this is a cooler tone pink than the Luster 05, but it's a neutral pink. I wouldn't say it's a cool pink. And then we have Satin in 101, which is the other limited edition shade. And that's another really nice green. This one is going to be a bit more of a sage green. I'll put that one right here so you can see that compared to the P04. You can see it's it's more of a grayish green, a sage green. And again, our finish here is just a really beautiful satin finish. The Prism, in comparison with the satin, the Prism has a little bit more of a sheen to it. It's got very finely milled, but you've got, you know, a little bit of like scattered glitter in there, whereas the satin does not. It's so finely milled, you don't see any actual glitter pieces at all. Let's take a look at these on the eyes and we'll talk a little bit more about the formulas. So the Suqqu Autumn Color Collection for 2025 is currently available at a variety of retailers, including Selfridges and Harrods. And we have a ton of new permanent items in this collection. And I'm really happy to see that for a seasonal collection here. So we have the new Mono Look eyes that we're looking at here. And there are 18 permanent shades plus 2 limited editions. They have 1.5 grams of product each, and these are made in Japan with a 1-year shelf life. I have some of the previous version of the Suqqu single shadows, and I've always really enjoyed those. We'll do a few comparisons with those as well. And I have to say, my experience with that formula, those have definitely stayed well past the 1-year expiration date. According to Suqqu, it says, color your way, expression in every gaze, a single eyeshadow that defines your individuality with just one stroke, featuring a seamless texture and radiant color that blends like skin. Introducing the new Mono Look eyes, now with greater sophistication for those who value authenticity and individuality. Delicate, refined shades meet 4 distinct finishes: Prism Touch, Luster, Satin, and Matte. Each finish melts seamlessly into the skin with Suqqu's signature powder texture. Even a single shade adds depth and elegance. The blendable texture delivers vibrant, true-to-tone payoff, revealing a sensual, multidimensional gaze. There is no single way to wear color. Every layer, every finish, it's all part of your own palette. So let's talk a little bit about the different finishes. And I wanted to pick up some of all of them, just to try all the formulas. But then of course I saw the colors and it was hard to limit myself to one in each category. So let's start off with the mattes. And this is going to be a shimmer-free matte finish. These definitely can build up. They're like a creamy matte texture. Think of like Natasha Denona creamy mattes. Some of the Viseart mattes are very creamy like this. They are not incredibly powdery. So think YSL mattes, how those are very creamy, yet you still get a lot of powder kick up. You don't get all of that kick up with the Suqqu. You do get some, but not as much as the YSL. So it's a little bit, perhaps a little bit creamier than those, but texturally they're going to feel very similar. So there is a little bit of oil in this formula, but they do note that there's less oil than the Tone Touch Eyes Frost, which is their previous version of, some of these single shadows. So it's they're describing it as a soft, airy texture while maintaining a sense of refinement. I would say it's a nice, airy yet creamy powder, and you can really build up or sheer out the shades. And it doesn't, it leaves a matte finish, but it's not a dead or flat looking matte, yet there's no actual sheen to it. These perform really well throughout the day. I would say that they hold up just as well as the aforementioned brands. I don't really experience creasing. I'm not somebody prone to creasing. I will typically have, a little bit of faint creasing with a shadow, by the end of the day. And these kind of fall in that category. I wouldn't say that they remain completely crease proof, but even without a primer, they're going to remain pretty much free of any signs of wear for about 10 hours on me. If you have incredibly oily lids, that's going to be less time. If you have drier lids than I do, that should be extended. My skin is for the most part balanced. It can be slightly dry during cooler parts of the year, but now during the heat and the humidity of summer, my lids are slightly more oily, so shadows don't necessarily last, for example, a full 12 hours. So I do think during the winter time, when my skin's a little bit drier, I'll be getting at least 12 hours without any signs of wear on these shadows. Right now, it's about 10 when the humidity is even higher. It could perhaps be a little bit less, but it's very mild creasing just in the crease spot. It's not something that looks bad, in my opinion. So they don't ever become like that messy look. Now, moving on to the Prism Touch formula. This is a brand new texture from Suqqu. And according to Suqqu, this was designed to create depth and dimension to the eyes. They're combining polarized pearls that shift with movement and color pearls that reflect light. They recommend applying these in layers for a vibrant metallic glow with dynamic shine, or blend softly for a radiant sheen that glides over the skin. According to Suqqu, the powder infused with highly viscous liquid oil adheres closely to the lids without creasing. And again, when I was speaking about the wear time for these shadows, that is basically for all of the finish. I'm kind of putting them all together because I typically will wear these, different finishes kind of mixed together. So unfortunately, there are only 4 shades in the Prism Touch finish and 4 in the matte shades. I'd love to see more shades of each of these. I really love the particular shades that I purchased, but I do think that the P02 shade, it looks more shifty in the actual palette than it does on the skin. I would have loved to see a bit more of that color shift on the skin. The P03 and P04, they don't really have any sort of color shift to them, but they really give a nice prismatic finish on the eyes. And the P03 and P04, I just think they are stunning. If you like those shades, I think those are definitely great ones to purchase. As for the P02, as I mentioned, there's not much of a color shift on the skin. It kind of looks like a rusty rose base, and then you see a little bit of shimmer particles. There's a tiny bit of micro glitter that has a little bit more of a cooler tone to them. And that's kind of what creates a little bit of the color shift, but unfortunately it's just not enough to really have an impact. So it's a beautiful shade if you like that rusty rose, but don't expect it to look as shifty as it does in the actual pan. As for the luster finish, I really love the colors in this line. We've got 6 different shades in the luster finish. This is described as bold, sparkling pearls, give off dazzling radiance. It's formulated with large pearls and enhanced with oil for smooth adhesion to the skin without fallout. I would say that's accurate. I have not really experienced fallout with these, or nothing significant. They blend evenly, creating a polished jewel-like glow with a refined touch. And again, you know, aside from a couple of them, you can definitely build up that opacity. You can get, you know, a nice, more opaque look on the eyes with these that is just going to have a little bit more light reflection, a little bit more sparkle. However, these are going to be more of a gritty texture. So if you have very sensitive skin on your eyes, you definitely want to take that into consideration as you're applying these. And they might be something you prefer to press on with a finger versus blending with a brush. Now, I do want to note that these are not any grittier than any other highly sparkly shades that we've seen from other brands. I just want to make that comparison because the matte, the Prism Touch, and the satin are all very smooth and silky and creamy in texture. And the luster, you can feel the glitter particles. As for the satin shadows, these are a classic satin finish. So it's a very elegant look, in my opinion. We have very, very finely refined pearls here, so they're going to give you a little bit of shimmer without seeing any actual glitter particles. They're so finely milled you can't actually identify any sort of glitter pieces. Again, these are going to have an oil in the formula to help with adhesion, and these are going to create a polished, crease-free finish. According to Suqqu, it says evenly sized fine pearls create a unified shimmer that blends into the skin like a sheer veil. I would say that is definitely accurate, and these can also be built up with more opacity to get a really beautiful, you know, more rich looking satin finish. Overall, I love these new Suqqu Mono Look eyes. I would have to say my favorite finish of the 4 is going to be the Prism Touch. I really love that new formula because it's, you know, it's very close to the satins. It's just a little bit more shimmery. And I would say my favorites would be Prism Touch, then Satin, then Matte, and then the luster. And I love the luster. I love the way they look, but I do prefer the creamier texture, the silkier feeling of the other formulas. And I would love to see some more cooler tones in these ranges. A lot of the shades do run warm overall for their line. I purchased the cooler tone shades for the most part from their range. So let's take a look at a few comparisons. So we're going to start off with the Tone Touch eyes. And this one here is shade 108, which was a limited edition shade a few years back. And this one is closest to the luster formula. You can see it's sheer, it's sparkly, and this one's a little bit more firm in the pan than the new luster formula. I think the luster formula now is just a little bit easier to pick up more product. So here's the luster, and these here are going to be your luster finishes as well. So you can see that they're going to be pretty similar, but you can get more opacity with luster versus this 108 shade, which has more of a sheer base to it. So you can definitely build up that shimmer, but the actual base of it is more transparent. Now, out of the Tone Touch eyes, this is my favorite that I have remaining. This is shade 13. I have repurchased this one over the years. I'm going to put this one right up here so we can see how that compares. And you can see that the finish for this is really kind of in between the different ones here. So this here is P03. This is Luster 101. This is the Tone Touch Eyes in 13, which was a permanent shade. You can see color-wise, it is kind of in between the two as well. We've got more opacity like the Prism Touch. We have a bit more shimmer, but it's more, you know, not as sheer as the L101 here. So our finish is kind of in between, as well as the color, because you can see we've got a little bit more blue in shade 13 there, like we do in the P03. But yeah, you can definitely see some of that pink shining through as well. And we've got a little bit more, I meant to say a little more blue like we have in the 101 here. So if this was one of your favorite Suqqu shades, I would say it's definitely worth looking at the L101 or the P03. The P03 is going to be a little bit more opaque. This one's going to be a little bit easier to, get a hold of because the L101 kind of sold out right away. I'm not sure if it will be restocking, but you can see that that is going to be pretty close. I want to take a look at a few other single shadows. And I just messed up my nails trying to open this one, but this is 28 from YSL. This is the taupe shade that I always talk about. And I wanted to see how this compared to our S02, which is here. You can see that the YSL in 28 is significantly more gray. It's cooler tone. It's more of a true taupe. And I had to compare it to some of the singles from Chanel and Dior. This here is Chanel and Brun Telpa. So this, I wanted to see how this one compared as well to the S02. You can see that this is going to be a beautiful satin as well. It's going to be lighter and more sheer and a slightly cooler in tone. It's a really beautiful shade though. This is the Chanel Matte and Lila Poudre. And we'll put this one, I'll put it right here. Now, the mattes for the Chanel are going to be more of a silky powder. They don't really have the creaminess that we get with the Suqqu. You can see this is going to be a little bit more, it's like a deeper lilac. We actually have a bit more blue in it as well, like more lavender. This one here is Mauve Sucre, which is a bit more of a lilac shade, but this is going to be more pink. And you can see it is a cool tone baby pink with a touch of purple in there. And again, the formula for that one's a really nice, more shimmery satin formula. But again, it has a little bit more of that silky texture versus a creamy texture. And then we have Jade Facette. And let's put this one down here. You can see it is going to have more yellow in it than what we have in the P04, but it doesn't have that sage green, that grayish hue to it that we have in the S101. Now for Dior, we have the Beige Mitza, which is their metallic finish. This is a very silky metallic. Let's see how this one compares to this here. Color-wise, this is going to be closer to this one, which is in the luster finish. This is going to be luster 03. So color-wise, it's more like that, but texturally, it feels more like a satin. It's silky. It's not as creamy as the Suqqu, but it's more creamy than the Chanel. This is the Cashmere Matte from Dior. And again, this is going to be more of a silky powder texture. It's not, I feel like it doesn't blend quite as easily as the Suqqu. There's a little bit more resistance, so you can get a little bit more of a patchier look. Color-wise, this cashmere shade is going to be closest to your M02. You can see those are very close to each other. So I hope that was helpful. I have to say, I absolutely love them. Let's run through these shades one more time here. So these are the matte finish. We have M01 and M02. And then we're looking at the Prism Touch. We have P02, P03, P04. These are going to be our luster finish. So we have L01, L02, L03, L05, and L101. Then starting with this brown one here, we're in our satins. So this is S02, S04, and S101. And again, this one and this one are limited edition, these purple and green ones. So let's go ahead and take a look at the blushes. All right, so in my first video, I shared this one, which is the new Blurring Color Blush in shade 7. It is a permanent shade. Let's go ahead and we're gonna swatch that. So I'm just gonna separate our shades here so you can kind of see what they look like. And this is what they are in the middle. And then we'll just do a buffed out shade here, what it looks like all blended together. So this is going to be our bottom, top, middle of the blush. You can see it's a really beautiful kind of like a warm peachy pink, but our highlighting shade here is going to be a cool tone pink. So you can get a really beautiful, soft, neutral, rosy pink here on the skin. Then they also released another permanent blush. This one is shade number 8. And we start off with a soft petal peach. You can see there's a little bit of pink in that peach, but it is a peach. The top is going to be more of a blue. And when you blend them together, you get kind of this soft, cooler tone, peachy pink shade here, which is very, very light. So I would say that the 8 shade is going to be best for those with fair, light complexions, whereas we can go a bit deeper with the shade number 7. Between the two, when you blend the shades out together, number 8 is going to be a little bit cooler because that blue tone really cools it off quite a bit. Let's take a look at these on the skin. So in the demos here, I'm showing you the colors in blush number 8 separated. We're using the Refer 37 brush, which is a nice kind of dome-shaped fluffy blush brush, but it still has some firmness to it. So these blushes are really easy to pick up. You get this really beautiful kind of airbrushed finish to them. And depending on the particular shade and so forth, you know, that's kind of how things are balanced. But for the most part, we have one portion of it that is going to be more of a blush and one that's more of a highlighter. Sometimes we'll just have two kind of blush shades that might complement or go together. But for the most part, these are intended to be a blush and highlighter duo. I typically like to wear these blended together. So I'm showing you the shades individually and then mixed, and then just showing you shade number 7 in comparison with 8 on the cheeks. Both of these just fully mixed together. Shade number 8 gives a little bit more of an icier, cool tone finish to it, and I actually think it is perfect for like that ice princess kind of look. And I actually think that this is a perfect shade for kind of that ice princess look. It's also a really great shade if you have some blushes that are overly warm and you want to cool them down. This is a great shade to kind of mix with that. And the formula for the blurring color blushes mixes beautifully with other versions as well. So these are going to be a matte blush for both of these, but they're not flat matte, and then we do have a little bit of a sheen to them, but for the most part this is just kind of giving you that airy velvety look on the skin. So it's going to be more of a velvet matte finish, but it's so light and airy that you know, it just looks kissed by a cloud. I actually think of it more as a cloud finish than anything else. So as for details, these blushes do come with a little blush brush. They're made in Japan with a 1-year shelf life, and we have 6.4 grams of product. Again, both shades 7 and 8 are joining the permanent line. Let's take a look at a couple of comparisons. All right, so this is shade 8, the new one, and this is shade number 1. And again, permanent line as well. And I want to compare these because they both have a little bit of a peachy hue on the bottom here. So this here, you can see shade number 1 is going to be more pink. And then instead of having the blue, we have more of this like warmer cream ivory kind of shade. And this is what it looks like mixed. So shade number 1, although it looks more peachy, is actually going to be a soft, warm petal pink. And it's neutral, leaning slightly warm, but it's really more of a neutral pink overall. And then again, new 8, and this is number 6. And this is definitely going to be a cooler tone pink here, but we do have kind of that light highlighter shade that I wanted to compare. At the top, you can see that is going to be a soft white. It's going to be cool in tone. And this is definitely a cool tone pink. There's a tiny bit of lilac in here, but for the most part, it's just a cool tone bubblegum pink. Again, got a tiny bit of blue. And you can see these then. We've got 7, 8, 1, and 6. And these are all part of the permanent line. So I hope these were helpful. I think these are really beautiful shades. It's a great formula. And let's move on to the lips. So as I mentioned, super happy to see so many permanent products in this collection. You know, the majority of the eyeshadows are permanent. We have 2 limited edition shades, but 18 permanent shades. We have 2 new permanent blushes. We also have some new permanent lip products joining the line. So there are 2 Moisture Glaze lipsticks. I purchased one of them. We also have a new gloss, and this is going to be permanent. We saw the permanent glosses come out, you know, a year or 2 ago. These are called the treatment wrapping lips. I love this formula. It's a really nice, more reparative gloss formula. But the majority of the shades we've seen have been limited edition. So they released some permanent shades with the original launch. And since then, everything that's come out has been limited. So very happy to see a new permanent shade. This is number 6. I do have to admit, I thought this was going to be more of a mauvey pink with a little bit more a cool tone to it. But this is going to be a nice neutral pink here. And then we have a beautiful new Moisture Glaze lipstick in shade 13. This is what I was looking for. I mean, this is a beautiful mauve. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. And when you purchase the Moisture Glaze lipsticks, you're purchasing the refill. So if you want a case, you need to purchase the case separately. However, the refills can be completely used this way. I wouldn't throw it in a bag because your lid could come off, but you can see that these are very easy to turn. If you purchase the case, it just snaps right in there and you have this. So I usually just take my label maker and put the color number on there. Otherwise, it is written on the actual bullet here. So let's take a look at these on the lips. Starting with a treatment wrapping lip, this is described as a soft, pure flush, as if drawn out from within. This barely there pink enhances the natural tone and glow of your lips while delivering deep moisture care. We have 5.4 grams of product. These are made in Japan. There is no suggested shelf life on these. I think it's a really beautiful, more neutral pink. And yes, it can be light, but you can also build this up. It's a really great pink that will suit many skin tones. But my favorite of the lip products that I purchased is the Moisture Glaze lipstick in shade 13. The other Moisture Glaze lipstick that came out is a limited edition shade in shade 109, and that is a warmer peachy pink. Shade 13 is described as a dusty purple infused with both smoky and milky tones for a chic modern look. Its muted hue adds quiet refinement to any makeup style. I would agree with that description. It is a beautiful, soft, mauvey rose kind of shade. I absolutely love it. This is going to be a go-to lip color for me. Again, you're purchasing the refills here, and we have 3.7 grams of product. These are made in Japan. And again, there's no suggested shelf life on the lipsticks. As for the Moisture Glaze lipstick formula, this is one of my all-time favorite lipstick formulas. You know, it reminds me a bit of the Chantecaille Lip Cheeks back before when they were fragrance free, which was many years ago at this point. We have that high shine finish. They're comfortable. They're not sticky. They're just stunning. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite lipstick formulas. And shade 13 is definitely a new favorite. It is probably, well, it is my favorite shade in their permanent line for sure. And it is just stunning. Been waiting for a shade like this to come from Suqqu. So I'm super happy to see this. So let's take a look at a few comparisons. We're going to start off with a few of the Suqqu glosses and just see how those line up. And let's start off with shade number 1. I'm going to put these more horizontally here. You can see shade number 1 is essentially like a clear translucent pink. It's not going to give a ton of color there. So shade 6 is definitely a nice departure from that. Then we have shade number 5. This is my favorite of the Suqqu glosses. I actually wear this one a lot, so much so that I've actually already bought a second. So this is going to be a bit more of a cooler tone rose shade here. You can see how that compares with 6. And I have to say between the two, shade number 5 is still my favorite, but I do really like the new shade 6. And then we have 105, which is a shimmery shade. This is going to be a bit more of a warmer pink with some shimmer. This one actually has some sparkle. This is more of a peachy pink here. So I hope that was helpful here. So we have 1, 5, 105, and this is the new shade 6. Let's take a look at the lipstick comparisons. Now I know somebody's going to ask me about Tom Ford Sugar Glider, so just drop the lid. Let's go ahead and start with that one here. And you can see how Sugar Glider compares. They do have some similarities there. I would say it's pretty close. The difference is the Suqqu 13, it has a bit more purple in it. It's more mauve, and Sugar Glider has a bit more pink. This here is the Moisture Glaze in shade 11, which is another one of my favorites, but you can see that this is going to be a warmer rosy shade here, a little bit more of a rosy nude. And I actually mixed that one with this one here, shade 5, quite a bit, which is a more vibrant purple. You can see this is going to be a berry purple kind of shade. Really stunning. This is a statement shade. And then I also want to take a look at the Addiction Tokyo. This is their Glow lip formula. This is shade number 4, Picture You, which is one of my favorites. And you can see that those are fairly close. However, the Addiction Tokyo is a little bit deeper, a little bit more mauve, less purple. And yeah, those are my comparisons then. So again, we have shade 13. This is going to be Tom Ford Sugar Glider. This is the Moisture Glaze lipstick in 11 and 5, and Addiction Tokyo in shade 4, Picture You. So I hope this has been helpful, and all of these swatches will be a great resource. I have to say, out of all of my single eyeshadows, the Suqqu formula is definitely one of my favorites. I also really love the Addiction Tokyo singles. I'm so sad that they're leaving. I would say that the Luster formula from Suqqu is most similar to the Prism formula from Addiction Tokyo. And yeah, we definitely have some similarities with those, but I would say that Suqqu has kind of made theirs a little bit more creamier than they used to be. And, you know, I feel like you can build the colors up a little bit more easily than you could with the previous formula. And, you know, just fantastic. So highly recommend them. I think the blushes, again, I like to think of them as a cloud finish, kind of that velvety cloud. And I love them. I think shade number 8 is going to be perfect for kind of giving you more of that icy look, which I love when the temperatures start to fall. And I love both the lip gloss and the lipstick, but this lipstick in shade 13, new favorite. It's not going in a drawer. It's sitting right on my vanity. You know, expect to see me in this a lot. You know, I'll try not to show it too much on video, but this is definitely gonna be a daily wear lipstick for me. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you very soon. So have a great day, and I will see you soon.